I didn't quit dramatically. I didn't leave a letter on Dad's desk, or send a group text, or make anyone sit through a conversation they'd have to emotionally recover from. Afterward, I just stopped doing the things no one had ever officially asked me to do, which it turned out was most of what kept the business alive. For 9 years, Callaway Interiors ran on two things: my father's name and my hours. Dad was the handshake, the history, the photograph on the wall at the Chamber of Commerce. I was the one who answered emails at 11 p.m., who remembered that Gerald Hooper at Pinnacle Properties liked his proposals printed, not digital, and that if you called him before 9 a.m., he'd let it go to voicemail and never call back. I knew which vendors would extend net 60 without being asked, and which ones needed a personal call before an invoice went late. I knew everything because I had spent 9 years making it my business to know everything quietly without asking to be credited for it. Paula knew the aesthetic side. She had taste, real taste, and Dad loved watching her present to clients. Loved the way she could describe a fabric or a finish and make people feel like they were already living inside the room she was imagining for them. She was good at that part. I never said otherwise. What I didn't know, until a Tuesday afternoon in March, was that Dad had already decided. I heard it from my uncle first, not from Dad. My uncle mentioned it the way you mention something you assume everyone already knows, casually between bites of a sandwich at a family lunch I almost didn't attend. Your father's putting the ownership structure in Paula's name before the end of the year. Estate planning. You know how it is. I knew how it is. I drove back to the office, sat at my desk, and finished the proposal I was working on for a hotel renovation in Asheville. 340 hours of work compressed into a document that would take someone 12 minutes to read. Sent it. Then I opened my calendar and started declining things. Not everything, just the things that had never been asked of me directly. The Sunday evening check-ins I'd invented because no one else was watching the numbers. The vendor relationship calls I made every quarter to keep rates from climbing. The quiet management of Gerald Hooper, who was our largest single account, and who had, over 9 years, become something close to a professional friendship built entirely on my reliability. I stopped returning Gerald's non-urgent messages as quickly. Not rudely, just at normal human speed. Within 2 weeks, the rhythm we'd built shifted noticeably. Within 6, he mentioned to someone, I learned this later, that he wasn't sure what was happening over at Callaway, but things felt different. The call from my father came on a Friday morning. He didn't lead with an apology. He led with the problem, which I understood. That was his way, had always been his way, and I had made peace with it years ago. Gerald Hooper was reconsidering the Pinnacle contract renewal. He'd left 2 voicemails Dad hadn't known how to return. Paula had tried to reach him, and Gerald had been polite but non-committal, which, if you knew Gerald, meant he was already looking at other firms. My father's voice had a quality I hadn't heard often, not quite panic, something quieter than panic, and harder to sit with. I let him finish. Then I said, Dad, Paula is the one with the vision for the company. She should be the one to rebuild that relationship. This is exactly the kind of thing the owner handles. Silence. Not long, maybe 4 seconds. But I had spent 9 years filling silences like that one, rushing in with solutions before anyone had to feel the weight of the problem. I didn't fill it this time. I thought, he started, then stopped. I know, I said. And I did know. He thought I'd help because I always helped. He thought the shape of our relationship was permanent, that my labor was a feature of who I was, rather than a choice I made every single day because I believed it meant something. It had meant something. I want to be clear about that. I'm not rewriting history to make myself the clean protagonist. I loved that business. I loved building something that worked. I just needed it to have been worth something to someone other than me. I told him I had to get back to a call, which was true. Paula did reach Gerald eventually. She was charming and capable, and I hope she figured out that he likes printed proposals and hates early morning calls. I genuinely hope she figured it out. I started consulting for another firm 2 months later. Part-time at first, then not part-time. No one in my family has asked directly what that means. I haven't offered to explain. Some doors you don't slam. You just stop propping them open, and you wait to see if anyone notices the draft.